Alrighty, welcome to the broadcast. We're here, we're live. We got multiple storm chasers out in the field today. We're going to be covering this possible tornado outbreak today throughout the Midwest. My name is Will Bratton. I'm a meteorologist. We're going to be taking you through this entire outbreak from start to finish. It's going to be a long broadcast tonight, so get yourself some coffee or just step away and come back when the severe weather kind of comes your way. A quick look around the country before we get into chatting with one of our storm chasers who's out in Illinois right now, just west of Springfield, Illinois. We do have, a giant mess of thunderstorms, just this big MCS blob cluster of thunderstorms that is pushing through Illinois and beginning to dissipate now. Currently on the map, we've got one severe thunderstorm warning, which is up in Maine for just an isolated thunderstorm up there, and one flash flood warning near Macomb, Illinois, here in western Illinois. That's all we've got going on the map. But we're expecting storm initiation to not be far away at all. So that is something we're going to watch very, very closely here over the next hour or so to see when initiation is going to start. But I am going to go ahead and jump right on in. And here we've got CJ.
Awesome.
Okay, I can hear you now. So the magic has
okay,
worked.
Good.
That's perfect. When I go to the scene, I can hear you now.
Exactly what we want to hear.
Yeah, so
exactly what we want to hear.
CJ is out there west of Springfield in Jacksonville, Illinois, I believe. What's it like out there?
We're at a Loves. It is juicy, man. Today, we were heading east originally. We thought, in line with the current thinking from the SPC, at least at the time, was that, the threat was going to be a little bit further to the east. Well, as things have kind of really picked up here this morning, we had that MCS that came through this morning that has kind of really modified the atmosphere here over central Illinois, and has pushed that threat, it seems, further to the west. As you're in St. Louis, you guys could even see some severe storms out of this now, whereas before it was kind of questionable what was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm seeing out there in Jacksonville, we've got your live feed of your data on top of the Tacoma.
Yeah.
You guys are clocking in at about a 73-degree Fahrenheit dew point. So it is moist out there. Let's see, temperature about 84 degrees Fahrenheit there.
It definitely did. And honestly, dude, this differential heating boundary, it's really sharp. We were right in between roughly Springfield and Decatur on I-72. We came back this way, and over that time, our temperature has increased by over 12 degrees. So you're seeing that
pretty
heating,
insane.
that destabilization. Yeah, that destabilization is very pronounced here on the ground. And all of our winds in this area have now, in response to that, started to back out of the southeast.
Yeah, that's I saw some rumblings on Twitter, and I was looking at surface observations earlier, and you can see where some of these boundaries have kind of set up throughout a couple of portions in Illinois. And we kind of knew that would be the case with this MCS. Of course, we just didn't know where they would set up or exactly how strong the gradients would be. But man, you said 12 degrees. That's pretty steep. I mean, storms will latch onto boundaries like that and just ride them.
Yep, we went from 67 degrees and now we're sitting at 84, I think is what the last I looked at our temp data. Yeah, we're 84 over 72. So
yeah, that's pretty crazy stuff.
Over the span of maybe 30, 40 miles.
Yeah, that's
not bad.
That's very impressive. For those who don't know, from where they were near Decatur, Illinois, to Jacksonville, there's a highway that goes right through Springfield, Illinois, and it's basically a straight east to west that has a little bit of a notch in it too. And so they basically just went in a straight line to the west and saw a 12-degree temperature difference over like 40 miles or so, which is pretty insane. There's a very clear boundary set up there. So it seems like you're going to be in a pretty good spot from where you're at this Loves, it looks like.
Definitely seems like it. There's a bunch of chasers here in the parking lot, from all over. So it looks like everybody had a similar idea, go west, and wait and see what happens. So now you're starting to see that line start to really fire up in, western Illinois near Quincy and Hannibal. We're going to wait for that to start sagging more to the southeast as the day goes on. And we're going to see, I think once these go, they're going to go.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about this tornado watch that has been issued in the mesoscale discussion. I think it caught a lot of folks off guard with how far west it was.
Of course, yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of congestion further east, which is kind of what I expected in Indiana to begin with. I was never the biggest believer in Indiana being a as big as a lot of models were showing, and as even honestly the Storm Prediction Center had outlined. I was thinking kind of central
Right,
Illinois and maybe into the furthest east portions of Missouri. So with that discussion now and
right.
the watch up, what are you thinking? What's your kind of your plan?
Well, I think so. Our goal is to stay. We're going to stay east of the river. Once you get west and you have to recross the Mississippi, as you know, from
Yeah.
St. Louis northward, it's slim pickings for crossings.
Yes, it
So we
is.
don't want to get trapped west of the river. We want to be able to stay with these storms as they progress, as they mature, because I have a feeling that once one of these routes right to that warm front, it's going to be cyclic. It's going to be one after another, and these could be long tracked.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Storm Prediction Center has been talking, and we talked about it in our forecast video this morning too, with the potential for
Right.
numerous long track supercells that could, like you just said, become cyclic and put down multiple tornadoes. It's just a very very favorable environment. The amount of spin that's available, the 0 to 3 kilometer storm relative helicity is like basically maxing out in some areas near the Indiana Illinois border and back into Missouri and
Right.
southern Illinois, central Illinois. It's still clocking in at more than what you need. You'd look at 250 meters squared per
Right.
second squared at the 0 to 3 kilometer storm relative helicity, and you're looking at very favorable environment. We're seeing values between 400 and 500 still in this region, which is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. This is something, of course, I live in the Southeast. I live in Florida. This is something we're more accustomed to in the Southeast. You get those high shear, low cape environments, especially during the cold season. But this is basically take that and add June thermodynamics. I mean,
Right.
the the potential is there for a very high ceiling event. But as many meteorologists, professors say, you forecast the floor, not the ceiling.
Right. Yeah. It's good practice, and it helps, with communication to the
Mhm.
public as well. One
Exactly.
thing I wanted to ask about too is, we talked about
Mhm.
earlier, these storms are going to be flying. So what's
They
kind of
are.
your guys' plan between you and Mark as chasers to kind of stay ahead of the jump? I know you're looking to get drone footage, especially
Right.
today. That's one of your number one priorities.
Right.
So how are you going to kind of gauge that?
So right now, what we're doing is we're trying to figure out where do these storms initialize. We want to get up on one of the better cells and then be able to follow it east. Hopefully, stay out enough ahead of it to where we can just get in the truck, go. But if runs over us, then ideally, luckily, geography plays well to our advantage here today because we're going to be able to stair step down as long as we're keeping pace with the line. Generally, we'll be able to stair step down to the next cell. So
Yeah.
hopefully this will give us multiple opportunities for multiple intercepts.
Yeah, that would be the dream, right? You just kind of I remember we were talking for a
But
little bit of
yeah,
context here. Mark and CJ passed through. I'm based in St. Louis.
yeah,
CJ and Mark passed through, and we grabbed dinner together last night at a local pizza
right.
spot. And we were talking about kind of their plan to try and stair step a lot of this. And just the ideal goal that they can just get a tornado that passes fully across the screen, where they can stay south of it and it'll just kind of maintain its eastern trajectory and just go from left to right across the
Yep,
screen. So that's one of their goals tonight, and we'll have their feed throughout this whole broadcast to make sure
absolutely.
that we can get a good visual on that if they get it.
100%. And that's going to be the biggest thing is making sure that, the public's warned. Uh, some good things that I noticed today. We were at a Walmart today in Springfield and we overheard a woman talking about her local business that they're going to let employees go home early. People are aware that this is taking place. Whereas last night, it didn't seem that way when we arrived in the area, but it looks like today the people here are very much aware this is going on and they're taking those steps to make sure that they have a plan in place and that they're going to be somewhere safe when these storms ride through.
Yeah, that's the most important thing, and the most important thing we can do as meteorologists and storm chasers is be that voice to the public. As storm
Exactly.
chasers, you can provide that visual because a lot of folks will hear like,
Yep.
tornado watch, tornado warning. I don't care. But if they see a tornado visually because a chaser is able to get a visual on it,
Right.
they'll go to the basement because at that point it becomes all of a sudden,
Exactly.
in their mind, it's life threatening. Visuals are
Yep.
very helpful. What
Exactly.
chasers do is super valuable. So I'm really glad that you guys are out there, and I'm happy to hear
100%.
that precautions are actually being taken out there in Illinois. I heard some rumblings
Yeah.
about a couple of schools getting let out early today, which I thought was interesting, seeing as
Yeah.
initiation wasn't expected to be in, or and still isn't expected to be until really 3 to 4 around the next hour here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do
So
want to
yeah, I
quickly
mean,
point
I
out.
haven't
Oh, I'm
heard
sorry. Go ahead.
much. No, I was to say I haven't heard much just because we're not really that plugged into the local, media base here.
Right.
You would probably know more than we do, but I know like in Florida, our schools have been out for the summer since mid-May.
Yeah.
So, but I know that up here it's pretty common that they go into June. So,
Yeah, so that wasn't like that when I was younger. And over the last like
right,
10 years, like at the end of my high school career, which I graduated 4 years ago from high school. I just graduated from undergrad and college this year. But
right,
when I was in high school, it was like I think our graduation was like June 6th or something like that. It's hard to remember the
wow,
exact date, it
yeah,
was a while ago. I did want to very
yep,
quickly point out a couple of the cells north of you, especially just north of Peoria, are starting to take on that kidney bean shape. I'm not expecting any of these to
yeah, they
do
are.
anything, but we're before peak heating. The atmosphere still has a lot of
Yep,
recovery to do over the next couple
we're-
hours. And we're already getting cells
yep,
that are becoming supercellular in nature, firing off all over
yeah, and
central Illinois.
right, and it looks like the NWS in Lincoln went ahead and issued a severe thunderstorm warning on one of those cells as well up there by Bloomington. So,
Yeah, I see that. That cell is going to be headed. It's in
getting to that
Forest City
time.
now and headed towards San Jose, Hartsburg, Atlanta. Why are there a bunch of cities in there that are the names of other major cities around the country? Delavan, Armington,
Right,
McLean, Hayworth, Wapella, Bloomington, all throughout central Illinois here. They put a pretty big polygon on it. And the reason they're putting these large
yeah,
polygons ahead of these storms is, again, like CJ and I just talked about, these things are flying. They're going to be moving really quick today. So
yep,
having that lead time is really important. You got to put a big polygon ahead of it because it
exactly.
can travel, 60 miles in an hour.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to hang here for a minute, monitor, see as these cells start to take shape, and then we're going to start chasing. That's really all we can do right now. We want to get on these right when they get fired up and get ready to go. So I am going to let you guys go,
Yep.
but I'll definitely check in as soon as we see anything. So
Yep. Yeah. If you wanna get back on, just shoot me a message and we'll bring you right back on. But I
we'll
appreciate
do.
you chatting with us here early on the start of the
Absolutely, guys.
broadcast. All right,
Heck
CJ,
yeah.
thank you very
Well, good
much.
luck. And thanks for everybody for tuning in, and make sure you have a way to receive warnings today. It's going to be crazy.
Yep. CJ is absolutely right. You got to have a way to have warnings and alerts. Again, that was CJ Morgan with Florida Man Weather. He's out there with Mark Sudduth, associated with Hurricane Track, or the founder of Hurricane Track. Their feed you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. It's going to be there for a lot of the day. It is going to be there quite a bit, especially for now, at least for the next hour or so, while a couple of our other storm chasers get set up in position before their feeds go live. We're going to have Midwest weather out in the field as well. We're also going to have Norman Smith, a new addition to our team that hasn't been formally announced on social media yet. So you folks are going to be the first to hear about that and see him associated with Will Bratton WX. But we did just get a second severe thunderstorm warning issued here. The county is currently impacted by this pair of severe thunderstorm warnings. If I can go ahead and expand, we've got DeWitt, Fulton, Logan, McLean, Mason, Tazewell. That's on the northern storm, I believe. And then we have McLean, Peoria, Tazewell, and Woodford counties all impacted by the southernmost storm. Actually, I think I had that flipped now that I think about it. Yeah, I definitely had that flipped. So flip that around. But we've got those counties all impacted by these two severe thunderstorm warnings. When we take a look at our storm relative velocity here, you can see just a very, very, very broad bit of rotation here. Again, this is nothing very, very impressive, but you can see that inflow getting established and some of that counterclockwise motion just beginning to get going near Dunlap. This is not something I'm worried about putting down a tornado, in the foreseeable future, at least over the next, couple of minutes here. But I wanted to quickly point out what we mentioned with CJ was look at how large these polygons are. That is quite the distance ahead of this storm. And again, the reason for that is because these storms are moving quickly. And I bet you I can just go ahead and give a little proof of concept on that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the warning issued by the National Weather Service here. As we take a look at it here, they have it moving east at 70 miles per hour. That's even faster than, honestly, I was expecting a lot of these storms to move today. So when you have a storm motion that's coming in at 70 miles an hour, my goodness, that is really impressive stuff. These storms are just going to be flying across the state of Illinois. I mean, you can see just in a 45-minute warning polygon just how far. That's a really, let me zoom in a little bit. They're covering, like, what is this, about a third or a fourth of the state. Now my pen's too small. What's happening here? Sorry about that. You can see these storms are covering like a third or a fourth of the state of Illinois, the width of it anyway, in an hour. These things are flying. So there's a really good reason. This is the precursor for what's to come. A lot of these storms later, the ones that become tornadic later in the evening, are going to have that same type of motion. These things are going to be flying. So if you're in the path of any of these storms and you hear the sirens go off, a lot of times we have the Midwest tendency to go on out to the porch and take a look at it. Look, I get it. I'm from the Midwest. I do it too. But with these storms, you don't want to screw around with it. Get down to a basement or a storm shelter, the interiormost room of a sturdy building. The best that you can do, get in the bathtub and throw a mattress over you. That's a story that has been told often that has saved a couple of lives. So these are all things that you got to take into consideration with this. We do have this flash flood warning out here in Macomb. I can also point out as well, they've gotten between 1 and 3 inches of rain, with 3 to 5 inches of water with some of this flash flooding going on there. So if you're in that region, or if you're a storm chaser out in that region, definitely make sure you're staying attentive to the flash flooding. Remember, if you get into a flooded road, it's not worth it. It doesn't matter if you're driving a big pickup truck. If the water is, more than half of your tire, or you see a lot of motion in that water, just turn around. It's not worth it. Find an alternative road, or an alternate route, I guess is a better language for that. But yeah, we can watch this progression here. I can even pull a couple more frames back, and we can watch how these storms are just beginning to fire off like crazy out here in Illinois. And this is going to be the trend. We've got all of these storms that are going to continue to fire off, push to the east. And as the atmosphere continues to recover, in that area right behind it is where we're going to be seeing all this storm action firing off, where we can get our tornadic storms, and even into areas like northwestern Indiana here. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you can see the sun starting to come out in Illinois. That is exactly the sign that you look for in terms of atmospheric recovery. When you get the sunshine coming in, you can get that instability brewing. You get your mixing going on associated with your diurnal heat. Essentially, the sun heats the earth, and that heat is going to fuel these storms. So if you have a lot of cloud cover that inhibits some of that sunshine from getting through, it can limit your severe weather. In this case, we knew there was going to be a lot of cloud cover, but there's a lot of other parameters in place that would help this system get going and produce a lot of tornadoes, even if there was a lot of cloud cover. But as you're seeing in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, some of that cloud cover is breaking up. And so that's just only going to enhance things as we go forward into the next couple of hours here, as we look towards convection initiation kind of going on. But I mean, look at how fast these storms are flying. For context, we are looking at, what time was this? About 1:05 here. And this is now, or sorry, that was 2:05, I believe. And this is now. These storms are completely flying. They are moving very, very quickly. So that is something we need to pay very, very close attention to. We continue to monitor the storm relative velocities here. Again, you can just see very, very, very broad, weak rotation. This is nothing I'm concerned about in terms of putting down a tornado, but it is concerning to see storms already beginning to ingest a lot of the ingredients in this environment, despite how cluttered and messy everything is here. You can see a lot of this inflow that's coming out of Peoria into this thunderstorm here near Dunlap, that is severe thunderstorm warned, is contaminated. It's the outflow associated with these weaker cells in Peoria. It's cooler air. It is very moist air, but it's cooler air. And so despite that contamination, these storms are still getting going and beginning to ingest a little bit of rotation, albeit very broad. So it's a very concerning sign. It's something we are going to have to very closely monitor through the evening here. I did want to quickly say, I want to shout out everyone who's stopping by for the first time for one of our broadcasts. We really appreciate you trusting us as your source for severe weather coverage and just general weather coverage in general. We're doing this all the time here. We're doing broadcast, forecast videos. We're covering the whole nation, everything that you need to know. So I really appreciate you guys sticking it out with us. What is going down in New Orleans here? As we do have a little bit of a special weather statement down here with a waterspout tag. Okay, so we are looking at a potential waterspout tag. You can see that rotation down here in New Orleans, or southwest, I should say, of New Orleans, south of Morgan City, near Dulac and Tarriott. These are the types of storms that will produce a little spin-up waterspout, maybe bring it over the land for a short period of time. This is the type of thing that friends of mine like Austin Carroll or Grace Williams will love. Even Taylor Hunn, because they love that tropical stuff, and or they're from that region. Of course, Grace is a meteorologist out there in New Orleans. Austin is out there in South Carolina. So These are areas we have to watch as well, in terms of water spouts, especially in the flooding risk associated down there. This tropical, actually, it is a named tropical cyclone Arthur now. It has been named, and it is pushing into that region, bringing all sorts of rainfall up and through Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, and eventually it'll push through Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina over the next couple of days. And that will bring the elevated risk for severe weather in those areas, and especially flooding as well. So it's something that we're going to have to monitor very closely. As in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see Mark and CJ continuing to relocate out here. I'm seeing in the chat that Tropical Storm Arthur has sadly caused 2 flooding-related fatalities in Texas already. That is really horrible to hear. Our thoughts and prayers are with those impacted out there. This is why I insist that no matter what, in terms of flooding stuff, like, you got to take it seriously, because a lot of people don't take flooding seriously. They're like, lightning can strike and it can kill you in an instant, right? A tornado can throw you 1,000 feet in the air or 10,000 feet in the air, and you can die that way. Or a coconut-sized hailstone. I'm being dramatic, but a giant hailstone can fall and hit you or your cattle or whatever in the head and kill you that way. But flooding, man, flooding is really dangerous stuff, and it sneaks up on you. Tornado sirens don't go off for flooding. A lot of times people don't know what's happening if they're on a long drive until they get there. So flooding needs to be taken very seriously. And so our thoughts are with those areas along the Gulf Coast that are experiencing a lot of this damaging flooding. We did have a video. I can actually go ahead and show this. I'll go ahead and pull it up here. But we posted a video on social media yesterday, I believe. Nope, 2 days ago. Just showing a lot of this flooding that was sent into us here from a friend of mine named Julian. I mean, look at this flash flooding. This was down near Ocean Springs. As you can see, some of these videos, this is quite loud. But you can see, just how much flooding was ongoing as of 2 days ago. Now they've received, a significant amount more rainfall since then, and they're going to only continue to receive more rainfall. So this flooding is going to continue, and I imagine it's already significantly worse out in Texas, assuming that we're hearing a couple reports of fatalities associated with it. Now, I don't have visuals on that, but again, it's just sad stuff. You hate to hear it, and our thoughts are just with those impacted right now. Let's take a look at the Tacoma. We do have access to CJ and Mark's, basically their weather station on top of the Tacoma out there. You can see their feed in the bottom left, and this is the stats out there. They are dropping it, or they have pressure down near 974 millibars as the low has been deepening. Temperature around 82 degrees and dew point around 71. Which I believe this dew point has actually been increasing over the last few minutes when we spoke with him. I can't remember exactly what he said the dew point was before. Temperature, I believe, is decreasing a little bit as they might be getting into that cold pool associated with some of these thunderstorms to their north. I'm not sure exactly what direction they are headed in. But yeah, we are definitely going to stay very closely tuned in with some of these storms down here north of Lincoln, near Peoria, out in central Illinois. There's, again, fast-moving storms that we have to pay very, very close attention to. We might be getting a live hit here from Norman Smith, our newest signed storm chaser here, in just a little bit, it appears. I'm going to go ahead and work on trying to get that set up. Meanwhile, we're continuing to monitor these storms up here in Illinois, like I talked about. We do only have 3. You know what? Why not? Let's take a trip to Maine. Let's go to the Northeast. And literally as far northeast as you can possibly get. There isn't really a super close radar out here, but we do have a severe thunderstorm warning with 22 minutes remaining on it for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-sized hail. Minor hail damage to vehicles is possible with wind damage to trees and power lines. This is out near Frenchville, Madawaska, and St. David up here in the very northernmost areas of Maine, out in the far, far northeast here. I did just want to, take a quick trip out to Maine and highlight that. It's almost a slight irony with the risk that we have today that for a little while, over the last hour or so, the only warnings on the map were in fact in Maine, with how robust this environment is in the Midwest. Obviously, we're not at initiation yet, but it kind of felt like Mother Nature was kind of throwing a slap in the face at us. We are looking at The area near Delavan and San Jose for potential rotation to develop. I'm not seeing anything as of right now. And of course, we're watching near Germantown Hills. Keep in mind, this storm was west of Dunlap when we started talking about it just a few minutes ago. That's how fast these things are moving. You can see this thing clearly kidney bean shaped. It's got some clean inflow associated with it. Again, very, very broad rotation. Nothing I'm terribly concerned about here. But it is something to watch out for as we are. I'm going to go ahead and set us up here to get a live hit here from Norman Smith in just a moment. We are working on that. I think it has Norman sideways for us. Norman, if you could flip your camera. I guess it wants to do portrait mode. We're going to bring him on right now. Norman, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good to hear from you, my friend. How are you doing? Where are you at? Talk to me.
So, doing good, doing good.
Talk
Running
to
on
me
like
sideways.
it's still sideways. I don't
Yeah,
know
it's got
why.
you in portrait mode for some reason, which is fine. We can do that.
Okay, whatever. So yeah, running off of like fumes at this point, like 2.5 hours of sleep. But right now I'm west of Gator, and just kind of waiting for these storms off to the west near Lewistown, to just meander off to the east, right along the differential heating boundary.
Hmm.
Not really feeling which storm's going to do it. I'm kind of just sitting here playing a waiting game.
Right. Yeah. I feel like we're going to be in a